Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Amazing Audiobooks. I'm Heather Booth. I'm the audio editor at Booklist. And before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and the title list were included in the reminder email that you received from Zoom about an hour ago. To download them, open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by copying the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you might have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or if you need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears there. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Finally, Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the live transcript icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select show or hide subtitles from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting subtitle setting. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Michelle Cobb, the Audio Sales Director of LA Theater Works and the Executive Director of the Audio Publishers Association, Jolene Bartow, the Marketing Director at Dreamscape, Jennifer Rubens, the Associate Director of Library Marketing at Penguin Random House, and Mark DeVera, Sales and Marketing Director of Yen Press. We will start with Michelle Cobb. Michelle enjoys many roles in the audio industry, including Audio Sales Director of LA Theater Works and Executive Director of the Audio Publishers Association. Thanks so much for being here, Michelle.
Thanks for having me. All right, I'm going to kick off with just a little bit of background about what's happening in audiobooks today. And we work with two surveys at the APA, the consumer survey from Edison Research and the sales survey from InterQ. The sales data is from 2021, and in June of 2023, you'll see consumer data from 23 and sales data from 22. But let's take a look at what's been happening in the industry. All right, first up, we can see that we've had a lot of revenue growth. In fact, we've seen 10 years of double-digit growth in audiobooks. And last year, in 2021, we saw a 25% increase over 2020. We also saw some serious impacts from the pandemic. We saw some big changes in categories. Romance grew 75% in 1 year, self-help 34%, and science fiction fantasy 32%. In fact, for the first time, science fiction and fantasy was the #1 genre in audiobooks outside of general fiction and nonfiction. So people liked long books and things that were keeping them, romantically entwined when they couldn't necessarily go out. If you look at the number of titles that were produced in 2021, it was almost 74,000. This is a huge uptick since 2006, when the industry altogether only produced about 3,000 audiobooks. These increases in revenue and the amount of titles being published mean that lots of people are coming to discover the format. In fact, let's take a look at some of the key points on consumer listeners. 48% of consumers 18 and up in the US have ever listened to an audiobook. That continues to increase each year. And another big impact of the pandemic was parents saying their children listened to more audiobooks, in part because they were really trying to get them off of screens and away from where they were all day when they were in Zoom schooling. Listeners continue to prefer professional narrators over author-read books, although there's certainly exceptions to that rule. And some other key findings we saw, that people are becoming members of audiobook services more. The average age of the listener is going down, and a lot of people are listening to audiobooks just, in fact, to relax, close their eyes, rest their eyes, and get off screens. All right, that's a little bit of the industry information. I'm going to turn us over to talk about LA Theater Works. LA Theater Works is a nonprofit organization that actually records plays live in front of an audience. except for the last few years. I'm going to have us play a little video that gives you a chance to hear the experience. You can hear the live audience in the background. We have a Foley artist on stage doing sound effects, and it's really a very immersive feeling. It's recorded over a number of days and then edited together in a rigorous process to be played on the radio, to be made available as an audio product. And here's a little introduction to LA Theatre Works.
Count Dracula?
I am Dracula, and I bid you welcome to my house.
What do you think you'd have done? Sit and watched? What kind of a question is that to ask me? It didn't happen, did it?
Well, it almost happened. If I'd come in here 5 minutes sooner.
You could not have been gone only 5 minutes! It took the movers 2 days to get everything in. They leave me little notes on my pillow. We're all out of cornflakes. F you. It took me 3 hours to figure out that F you was Felix Unger.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo. Wherefore art thou Romeo?
You can't eat the orange and throw the peel away. A man is not a piece of fruit. Now pay attention. Your father, in 1928, I had a big year. I averaged $170 a week in commission.
Oh, Willie, you never...
I averaged $170 a week in the year 1928.
I drive a man around in his limousine, and I say, yes, sir. No, sir. Oh, very good, sir. Shall I take the drive, sir? Man, ain't no kind of job that ain't nothing at all.
What does red mean to me?
Red wine, red roses, that phone to the Kremlin on the president's desk.
Russian flag, Nazi flag, Chinese flag.
Persimmons, pomegranates, red light district, red tape, rouge.
Lava, lobsters, scorpions.
Stop sign, sports car, a blush.
Viscera, flame, dead fovis.
Traffic lights, tissue and hair.
Slash your wrist, blood in the sink.
Santa Claus.
Satan.
Don't make me laugh.
What the hell do you want? My head on a plate? I woke up in a room without a leg. And what the hell you think? Anyone's got it any better than you?
I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum, which, let's face it, is what I am.
First off, you need to calm down.
I'm calm.
No, not Jackie calm, but higher power calm.
I'm calm, really. I'm very calm.
Calm enough to pray with me?
Pray.
Yes, pray. You remember prayer, right? That little thing we do that saves our ass when we're about to lose our minds over nothing 25 times a
Bro,
day?
I already prayed, like, a lot, okay?
So pray again, right now.
Eat that fucking fish.
I'm not hungry.
Eat it.
No.
Mom, I need to
No.
say. Mom, eat the fish, bitch. Mom, please.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
Thanks for bearing with us on the spicy language, but you can see we have some of the top stars of Broadway and Hollywood coming together. They record through an unusual process for audiobooks because they actually rehearse together. And even though they oftentimes are using the script when they record in front of the microphone, as you can see, they are moving from microphone to microphone and sort of giving the intention of how an actor would move around the stage in a full production. Now, as a nonprofit, a lot of what LA Theatre Works does is actually try to give away some of these titles. So if you know middle and high school teachers who would like access to these materials, you can go to latw.org/education to enroll. We also participate in some free programs such as the Sync Audiobooks for Teen program that AudioFile magazine runs. This year it will run from April 27th into early August, and each week publishers provide 2 titles. They're matched by themes, and LA Theatre Works this year is doing Bump, which is all about a woman who inspires her father to create a device for safer deliveries, and Top Secret, which is all about the Washington Post decision to publish the Pentagon Papers. Bump is part of the Relativity series from LA Theatre Works. These are science plays that are supported by the Sloan Foundation that wants to bring together science and entertainment. All right, and next up, we will talk about some of the recent titles. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to record live, but as you'll see, as I get to a few slides in, we'll finally be returning to those live recordings. But in studio, we've done some great productions, including an adaptation of Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises, all about a group of friends in Paris in the 1920s. And this stars some great people, some of whom you actually saw in the video, including Jeffrey Arend and Seamus Dever. I really struggled to pronounce his name, and that's why I am not an audiobook narrator. These titles are available digitally and on CD, although we are going to be moving away from CDs because it's so hard to get the boxes and the CDs themselves. So get your CD choices in now. Next up, one of my favorite plays, Tom Stoppard's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. Again, a great cast, including some fabulous names who you may recognize as audiobook narrators, such as Martin Jarvis. Also very recognizable people like Susan Sullivan. And this is a takeoff on, of course, Hamlet, with that Tom Stoppard sense of humor and, dark humor, definitely. We also do a number of classics. We have Twelfth Night. This was recorded in front, or not in front of a live audience, but in studio. So it's the full production and includes people like Stacy Keach and Rosalind Ayres and Josh Stamberg. This is all about a shipwreck. And of course, as with any Shakespeare play, there's always mistaken identity and people disguising themselves. One of the newer titles we just released was Once Upon a Time in Nazi-occupied Tunisia. This is a dark comedy again about two different couples who are sharing a deep and complicated friendship before the Germans take over their country in World War II. And then a blast from the past, we pulled out Fuente Ovejuna. This is a translated version of the title that we actually recorded a number of years ago and just got digital rights for. So it's now available digitally. And this was written in the 17th century, but it remains a very timeless play about the captured city of Fuente Ovejuna. Two plays from our Relativity series that are just coming out very, very soon. They're available on our website and coming to retailers and library vendors near you within the next couple of weeks. Continuity. This is about a first-time director struggling to get that perfect shot of light before the light changes. So it's a lot of hijinks there. Again, a relativity play, so a bit about science. And What Are You Now? This is about a passionate young researcher investigating ideas on how to heal from traumatic memories. We're very excited to bring out this piece, which includes Greg Watanabe as the narrator amongst a luminary cast. And upcoming, all of these being recorded live in front of an audience, which we're super excited about, adaptations of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and The Great Gatsby, and a brand new play all about the Shanghai Jews. This was refugees trying to escape Nazi persecution in Europe, and they settled in Shanghai between 1938 and 41. So look for those coming in the fall. All right, I'm going to mention CDs one more time because we have an amazing CD collection. This is 250 plays on CDs. It's over 500 CDs in 25 volumes, and it will be going away soon as we struggle to get those CDs and the boxes themselves. The entire collection is worth $7,500, but it's available for $9.99 with free replacement CDs. And each year for the past, since 2013, if you go to the next slide, we have brought out collections which have about 10 to 12 plays each. That's been each season between 2013 and 2020. And our final collection was in 2021 and has some incredible favorites. And in the collections, we have Audie winners, we have Pulitzer Prize winners. So really some of the best things that you can hear on theater. All right, my name is Michelle Cobb. This is my email address. We are always looking for good suggestions of plays that we should be recording Everything is available through your favorite library vendor. So please check us out, encourage schools that you know to take advantage of our free programs, and we encourage your patrons to take advantage of our titles for free through the Sync program designed for teens. Everyone signs up on their own. Check out that program at audiobooksync.com. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Michelle. We are now going to hear from Jolene Bartow. Jolene is on the marketing team at Dreamscape, and she enjoys working on around 1,000 audiobook titles a year from a variety of authors and narrators. And aren't we glad for that? Thank you so much, Jolene. Take it away.
Thanks, Heather. And great lineup, Michelle. Super excited to be able to talk with everybody today about our upcoming audiobooks. Some of these have just recently come out, and some of them are coming out in the upcoming months. But first wanted to talk a little bit about Dreamscape and who we are. We are an audiobook publisher. We do hundreds of and thousands truly of best-selling audiobooks and across many, many genres, everything from motivational self-help to suspenseful mysteries, sci-fi, romance. And we've been very honored to win some audio awards in the past. So we really put a strong emphasis on our production and take a lot of pride in putting together these audiobooks. I would also just encourage you to check out our website. I'll mention at the end as well. All right, so let's just go ahead and dive into some upcoming audiobooks and some that have just recently come out in the past couple weeks. First up is Radiant Sin. It's the newest addition to Katie Roberts' Dark Olympus series, which you may have heard of before. This is a scorchingly hot modern retelling of Apollo and Cassandra, but it can be read as a standalone, even though it is in the series. Both Zara Hampton Brown and Alex Moorcock returned to narrate Radiant Sin, and they've narrated the entire series. So it's really cool to see them put a new interpretation on these characters and kind of be the voice of this series. This title recently hit the New York Times bestseller list. So not only are we thrilled to be publishing the audiobook for this title, but excited to see the upcoming titles in the series released in the upcoming months as well. Next up, we have Of Manners and Murder. It's a super fun historical murder mystery novel that kicks off a brand new series by author Anastasia Hastings, and it's narrated by the very talented Mia Hutchinson-Shaw. The book takes place in 1885, London, England, when Violet, our main character's Aunt Adelia, decides to abscond with her newest paramour. She leaves behind her role as the most popular agony aunt in London, and that name is Miss Hermione. So Violet inherits this advice column from her aunt. But of course, the first letter that Violet receives in full is not for sea pondering, but a portent of when she goes to visit and find the writer of this letter. She finds that the person who has written this letter has been murdered. So soon Violet discovers that when you represent the best loved agony aunt in Britain, both marauding husbands and murder are par for the course. So very fun murder mystery with a great new protagonist, and we're super excited to have the first book in this historical fiction series. Next up is Tremors in the Blood. This is from the head writer of Wired. Tremors in the Blood dives into the creation of the so-called lie detector, quote unquote, and delves further into the true nature of the polygraph. Historical nonfiction and true crime fans alike will enjoy this. It's super fascinating listen. If you have any patrons, I think, who are fan of podcasts and want to try out their first audiobook, I think this could be a great kind of gateway audiobook for them. And Paul Bellatoni really brings a lot of gravitas to this narration. Fun fact about Paul, he is also a award-winning opera singer, so he's definitely got the vocal chops. Next up is Don't Back Down by Sharon Sala. It's a new romantic suspense novel from Sharon. She is a New York Times and USA Today bestselling author. This book tells the story of Army veteran Cameron Pope, who returns home to his small hometown of Jubilee, Kentucky for the first time in years. But he has little time to rest before he is embroiled in a life and death struggle with human traffickers. Also, an old flame has come back into his life, but their growing relationship puts Cameron right into the crosshairs of an old town feud. Tim Lonebus, again, I'm not the audiobook narrator, but he does a fantastic job of bringing Cameron's story to life. And this is the perfect audiobook, I think, for readers who enjoy a little romance with their suspense novel. Next up is Reagan Penaluna's How to Think Like a Woman is getting a ton of praise. We're really excited about this audiobook. It's narrated by Angie Kane. It's a riveting relook at feminist theory in academics. In the audiobook, we take a deep dive into 4 cornerstone women philosophers and reimagine an academic landscape where these women's thoughts weren't met with misogyny. I would really encourage you to, we have a clip of this up that I'll have a link for it at the end of the presentation. It's really grabs you and brings you into the sexism that you have to deal with on a daily basis within academia as a woman in that field. So we'll definitely give it a listen, and I think you'll be drawn in. Next up, we have The Human Origins of Beatrice Porter and Other Essential Ghosts. This is truly magical realism at its finest. It's set in a world that's alive and unpredictable, and telling of the love between sisters who don't always see eye to eye. This extraordinary debut novel is a celebration of the power of stories, asking what happens to us when our stories are erased. Do we disappear, or do we come back haunting? Narrated by Jamie Gray, The Human Origins of Beatrice Porter is set in Flatbush, Brooklyn, and features Jamaican Trinidadian sisters who grapple with hard truths about their family. This has been on a bunch of most anticipated lists as well, so very, very excited about this one coming up in March. Next up, we have a title that has been on a bunch of anticipated lists as well. You probably know the author Claire Legrand, but from her previous bestsellers, including The Sawkill Girls, Some Kind of Happiness, and the Furyborn series. In A Crown of Ivy and Glass, we are introduced to the Middle Mist world, where magic, demons, and blood feuds are all very real. This lush romantic fantasy is the start of a trilogy that fans of A Court of Thorns and Roses, I think, will love. I think this will also be a favorite amongst the spicy book talk community. So we're very excited for this one coming up. And next up, I have several titles, and I just want to preface this by saying we're very excited to work with certain publishers and also independent authors who have audiobooks, and we are able to distribute these into libraries. So we partner with them, not necessarily as the publisher, but helping them to find the audiobooks in platforms like Hoopla and Overdrive so that their audiobooks are available for libraries to use. So first up, we have Scorched Grace, which features a chain-smoking, heavily tattooed queer nun who must solve a string of arson crimes within the sticky, oppressive New Orleans heat. This is an exciting debut for Margot Duehi's bold new series. It's with Gillian Flynn's books, and it breathes new life with the hard-boiled crime fiction genre. This audiobook is also narrated by Mara Wilson, which I think many of you might remember as the iconic actress in Matilda. So very excited to have her narrate as well. We also work with Chelsea Green Publishing to get their audiobooks in libraries, and Love Nature Magic is an exciting new audiobook from Maria Rodell, who's an organic advocate and former CEO of a global health and wellness company. In Love Nature Magic, Rodell examines some of nature's most misunderstood beings, from thistles to snakes, poison ivy to mosquitoes, and finds the meaning behind them to relate it to our human experience. The author narrates this one, so it really creates a kind of intimate kind of reading and audiobook experience. And then next up, we also have the chance to work with several outstanding independent authors, including J.M. Curl. The Elf Queen series is a superbly rendered self-published series and has become a favorite amongst the book talk community. Long Live the Elf Queen has fantastic world building, complex characters, and a sizzling romance. We're super excited to partner with authors like J.M. Curl to bring their audiobooks to libraries. It also gives us a chance to feature excellent voice narrations from voices like the ones who narrate the Elf Queen series, Bridget and Jake Bordeaux. And I just went over a very small amount of our titles that are coming up in the upcoming months. Just wanted to point out, we have many, many more. Here's just a quick look at some of the titles that we have coming out. Everything from mystery to cozy mysteries, romance. We have speculative LGBTQI sci-fi in just a variety of different genres and from various different kinds of authors. So definitely want to encourage you, if you want to go to the next one, to check out this link here, or you can scan the QR code as well. And it'll take you to a landing page that has many of these books. You can get instant access to the NetGalley ALC of those. or you can start listening to the audiobook excerpts if we don't have it up on NetGalley at this moment. I put all our social media in here, would love to connect with you on there. We post about our audiobooks all the time and love to talk with readers, librarians, narrators on there often. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jolene. I'm on the marketing team at Dreamscape, and my email address is right here. Please feel free to reach out. I love to talk about audiobooks. We'll always be willing to answer any emails about questions, comments, feedback. And also, please check out our website, www.dreamscapepublishing.com, and you can find some more additional information about us and also our titles. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jolene. Up next is Jennifer Rubens. Jennifer is the Associate Director of Library Marketing and has been listening to audiobooks since she learned to read, turning the page when she heard the chimes. I fondly remember that myself. Jen has devoted herself to supporting the art of storytelling in some shape or form for as long as she can remember, including as an actress and a narrator. Jen has worked with Penguin Random House for over 11 years, where it's always a thrill to bring her passion for books, actors, and storytelling all together and connect with libraries and listeners. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to talk to you all about audiobooks. And just to let you know, if you want to ask me any questions, you can reach me at library@penguinrandomhouse.com. We cover all formats of many, many titles. But of course, today we're going to focus on audio, which I have been talking about for a long time, as you could hear in that intro. And I'm so happy that you're here today. And if you want to listen to clips, you can head over to booksontaped.com. And if a clip isn't available yet, it will hopefully be available as we get closer to the on sale date. So fear not, you can always listen to a preview if you're curious about something. So head over to the next slide. This has been a very exciting week for audiobooks. And so I had to just mention a huge shout out to our Audie nominees. We had 21 Audio Award finalists, which includes 2 nominations for the 1619 project, which is nominated for Audiobook of the Year. So we're just so thrilled and grateful to all the many listeners. And we hope that this is a great opportunity for you to check your holds, see if you've missed any of these phenomenal audiobooks, or if you need more of them to meet the demand, because they're really special listens, and we hope that you check them out. And then we also want to sing praises for our Odyssey honor. If you haven't heard about the Lunch Lady series, which you probably have, but you may not know that last year we were so honored to be able to bring it to audio. And it's such an interesting conversation that I feel like we've had the pleasure of talking about also with Booklist, of like, how do you turn a graphic novel into an audiobook? And this is how you do it. And we're so excited that the committee recognized how special this production is. You might recognize Kate Flannery from The Office, and she's hilarious. And this is a great series for middle grade, and I think any age. I just love it. And I'm so excited to share it with my own kids when they're a little bit older. And then we also just have to give a shout out to the Listen List for outstanding audiobook narration. So thanks again to the committee members. They listen for so many hours every year. And this is just another great opportunity. Like I said, check those holds, make sure you have these really special recordings available. And we hope that your patrons don't miss out. And now to dive into some new things, because if you're true audiobook fans, you might be like, well, I already know about all those already. Tell me something new. So I'm going to kick it off with 2 new audiobook originals. And the first one is called The Ghost Club. It's an audio original from the acclaimed author of American Sherlock. And she's also the host of multiple true crime podcasts, including Wicked Words. She's had podcasts that have been downloaded more than 7 million times. And so in Kate Winkler Dawson's own words, who doesn't love a creepy ghost story? The Ghost Club is a tale that is spooky, spine-tingly, and real. This popular podcast host will draw fans and patrons into the world of an exclusive club in London that hosted members like Charles Dickens, Arthur Conan Doyle, and an infamous paranormal researcher hunting ghosts at a haunted rectory. I didn't know about any of these things. It's super fascinating. Head over to booksontaped.com to hear more about it. And the only way to hear it will be on audio. And then this is our first crowdsourced audiobook in Conversations on Letting Go by Najwa Zebian, the author of Welcome Home. She posted a call for reader-submitted questions for her forthcoming audiobook original. It's coming out in June, and this will guide listeners through authentically letting go and finding forgiveness. She asked followers to think of the one thing that's holding you back, whether it's a person or an experience, if you're struggling with being stuck in a certain pattern. And so the intention is to get a listener to the point where they're living an authentic life and to guide us as we listen to let go and to live so we can propel ourselves to a liberated life. So who doesn't want all of that? It's going to be a great listen. These are both natural entry points for existing fans of these very popular authors who want to hear more directly from them in their own beloved voices. And now I'm so excited to talk about American Girl on audio. This has been such a pleasure. We've brought over 50 audio downloads of American Girl collections to audio for the first time, available from Listening Library. And you might have seen a little bit of chatter online recently when the newest historical American Girl dolls were announced last week, and they're from 1999. That's right, millennials have entered the era of historical, according to American Girl, but they sure know how to do it right because they have the perfect accessories and backstory details. And we couldn't help but notice many librarians are especially taken with the iconic 90s Pizza Hut Book It set that twins Isabel and Nikki would have enjoyed. This definitely brought back memories for me. And so you can see it on the screen there. So no narrators have been announced just yet, but you can introduce young listeners to twins Isabel and Nikki via the audiobook, which will be out September 6th, written by real-life twin authors Julia DeVeers and Jennifer Roy. We're also thrilled that Britt Bennett is back with a second installment in the Claudie series, read by Shayna Small. It picks up where Meet Claudie left off. Claudie's traveling from Harlem to Georgia with Mama and cousin Sydney to meet her grandmother and cousins for the first time. And she hopes that learning her family's story will inspire her for the variety show she's planning to raise money for to save the boarding house that her family lives in. So it picks up where fans of Meet Claudie left off, and we can't wait for you to hear that in June. And then finally on this slide, Girl of the Year Kavi comes to life on audio this summer. Kavi Sharma is an Indian American girl growing up in New Jersey who loves singing, dancing, and performing with her friends. And between schoolwork, dance, and music classes, time with family, Saturday yoga, and hanging out with friends, she has a full plate. But her middle school announces a musical review. She might get a little distracted from her schoolwork, which hasn't happened before. And I love this term. Her brother says she has a bad case of Broadway-itis. I think I'm related to this problem. Anyway, this is just going to be so wonderful, and I'm so excited for you to hear all of these new characters on audio. And then now from American Girls to some important American ladies, the first ladies. So there was an incredible reception for the co-author debut of Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray, including a Library Reads pick. So not only are the authors back, but Robin Miles returns to narrate, now joined by Tavia Gilbert in the next fascinating historical fiction novel about the extraordinary partnership between First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt and civil rights activist Mary McLeod Bethune. So most of us might know a lot about Eleanor Roosevelt, but not many may have heard of Mary McLeod Bethune. So this audiobook will shine a light on the woman who was unfortunately left out of the textbooks, but who played a pivotal role in the fight for equality and who was largely responsible for opening the First Lady's eyes to the injustices faced by Black Americans. So I think the audiobook will surely add even another layer that book clubs especially will love to discuss, because listeners will not only hear about an incredible female duo written about by a pair of authors who've been open about exploring their own growing friendship and allyship over the years, but now the story, of course, will be told by two of the audiobook business's most beloved voices, Robin and Tavia. We're so thrilled to have Pulitzer Prize, two-time Pulitzer Prize winning author, I should say, Colson Whitehead back on our list. Speaking of return narrator and author pairings, everyone will be thrilled to know that, of course, Dion Graham is back for the second in the two-time Pulitzer Prize winning Colson's Harlem Saga. This is a powerful and hugely entertaining listen that summons 1970s New York in all its seedy glory. This is, like I said, part two of a planned trilogy that tells the story of Harlem in the latter half of the 20th century. It's darkly funny. It's about a city under siege, but it's also, in fashion, it's a sneakily searching portrait of the meaning of family, and it's a kaleidoscopic portrait that will really stand out as one of the all-time great written words about a time and a place. I mean, his writing is just phenomenal. And of course, listeners fell in love with the character of Ray Carney in Harlem Shuffle. You can read just some of the praise on the screen. It was a Library Reads pick, and the audio was a Booklist Editor's Choice pick. And you don't want to miss out on Crook Manifesto in July. And now, next up, Tom Hanks. I mean, come on. Of course, Tom Hanks will be reading. Who wouldn't want to hear directly from the Academy Award-winning actor and best-selling author himself? And this is actually his debut novel. Colossal, star-studded, multi-million-dollar superhero action film, and the humble comic book that inspired it. And what's so cool is Tom Hanks actually worked on comic books that are part of the story. And so you will see a PDF of the comics from the book as part of the audiobook experience. And look at that cat. How cool is this? And just a funny note to mention for people who love listening, you might have heard about a podcast called Dead Eyes by Connor Ratliff. I'm laughing because I've listened to part of it and it's hugely entertaining. And he was famously fired by Tom Hanks in Band of Brothers, but he is now making an appearance in the audiobook, as well as Rita Wilson, his wife, who narrates a section from the point of view of the director's wife in the book. There's just so many fun appearances here, and everyone's just gonna love it. And of course, you've got to hear Tom reading his debut novel himself. And then a few other author reads I wanted to point out. The Liars Club, written and read by Mary Carr. It's a backlist title, but this is a new audio production. And it's the first time the title will be available as an unabridged download. So of course, The Liars Club took the world by storm. It raised the art of the memoir to an entirely new level. So what better way to experience it for the first time or re-experience it than to hear the audio read by the author herself? And then expect to hear a lot about Mott Street. This is the author who was the winner of the MFK Fisher Book Prize and a New York Public Library Coleman Fellow. And this is a sweeping narrative history of the Chinese Exclusion Act. And she did so much research about her own family's epic journey to lay down roots in America. And it's incredibly moving. And to hear her say the stories of her ancestors themselves and to breathe life into their stories is just going to be an extraordinary listening experience. And then I personally love Helen Ellis. She is, told everyone she loves audiobooks herself. She's an audiobook super fan. She famously, in my mind, is the first author to tell me in marketing that she listens to audiobooks while scrubbing the toilet. So if you haven't tried that yet, there you go. What else could make that enjoyable? So this is a new romantic collection of essays about love and marriage, and some things might make you spit your coffee across the table, but no one will know what you're listening to if you're listening to the audiobook. So it can be your little secret with Helen in your ear. And then finally on this slide, a YA pick out today. Nick Stone and Dion Graham are back behind the mic. It's already an Audiophile Earphones Award winner. And Nick Stone also has a very personal note explaining her experience that relates to this audiobook that deals with mental health. And it's going to be very powerful, and we recommend it highly. It will really get book clubs talking. I'm going so fast, but I had so much to share. Allie Hazelwood is back. We're so thrilled that Love on the Brain was just nominated for an Audio Award last week for Best Romance. So up next from her is Love Theoretically. It's definitely, as you might know, for readers and listeners who geek out over romantic comedies, who love the STEMinist rom-com. And this one has rival physicists who collide in an academic feud and fake dating shenanigans. So what more could you want for a fun summer listen? And then this is very exciting. Her first YA debut is coming this fall, and it's called Check and Mate, and it'll be about chess. And then Justin Cronin is back. The Ferryman is read by Scott Brick and Suzanne Elise Freeman, but fans of Justin Cronin audiobooks are so thrilled because Scott Brick famously got so much acclaim for reading the Passage trilogy. And this is a standalone, completely creative, world-building, sophisticated, speculative audiobook. It's for fans of, Station 11, Project Hail Mary, fans of the Passage TV series, of course, and then just so many fans of Justin Cronin. And this is just phenomenal. It's already gotten a starred review from Library Journal that said it's impossible to put down. And of course, on audio, it will be impossible to pause. And then finally, YA Summer Suspense, One of Us is Back. Of course, One of Us is Lying is now a TV series. It's gained even more fans. She has just become the queen of suspense in the YA world. That's Karen M. McManus, of course. Readers are to be announced, but this is a great listen for summer for YA or adults. And we just can't wait to announce who will be reading. And it's just really, the series has become a global phenomenon. And we're so excited to say that the third one is coming. So get ready. And then that's almost it for me. I just wanted to point out that we do have lots of CDs still. We get asked that question a lot. This is just a little snippet of some that are new. I know you see Prince Harry staring at you. These are new and out already or coming soon. We hope you don't miss out. There's so many great ones on here that we hope you'll add to your shelves, and people can listen in their cars still, as many people still do have CD players on the road. So finally, we have a book buzz tomorrow. If you want to hear more from my team, sign up. It's tomorrow at 11 a.m. We do this almost every month. Super fun, and you can hear about lots of titles that you might not have heard about already. And that's it for me. We have a book festival coming up. I'll send it more info about it in the wrap up. And thank you. Visit at booksontaped.com.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Our final panelist today will be Mark de Vera. Mark is the Sales and Marketing Director of Yen Press, and I think this is the first time that Yen Audio has presented with an audiobook webinar, so let's give him a big welcome to Booklist audiobook webinars. Mark's passions include basketball, cats, and of course, manga and graphic novels. Among the many things that Mark has done as part of the manga and graphic novel industry, presenting great books to librarians remains one of the most satisfying parts of his job. Take it away, Mark.
All right, thank you very much. So give me a moment and I am going to share my presentation on my screen. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm Mark de Vera, Sales and Marketing Director of Yen Press. And Yen Press is a company that's mostly known in the graphic novel space as a publisher of Japanese manga, Korean comics, sequential art mostly, but we do a lot of other cool things too. And that's actually what I'd like to start the presentation off by talking not just about Yen Audio, but another imprint we have called Yenon, because it is in many ways the genesis of Yen Audio. So Yenon is an imprint that we at Yen Press made that's dedicated to translated works of prose fiction. And when taking a look at the Yenon catalog, it's made up of two different categories of books. One of those categories of books are light novels, which are serialized novels with the appeal of manga and anime. In terms of the storyline, a lot of them are, have the kind of action and adventure, the kind of romance, the kind of comedy that one typically thinks of when they think of Japanese anime. So with the popularity that we've seen with manga and anime, and especially in recent years, needless to say, light novels have become a very popular category as well. The other category of books that you can find under the Yenon catalog are celebrated Japanese novels. I guess plain and simple, Japanese fiction, but I just wanted to point that out to differentiate from the light novels, which in many ways are basically manga, but prose. But what the other side is, think of your typical works of literary fiction, of genre fiction. And when looking at those works that we've published in this specific category, a lot of the creators are well celebrated authors in Japan, and sometimes the works that we've published under Yenon from them are their first translated works in English. So something that we take very seriously at Yen Press and something that we've been very honored to do. So anyway, from Yenon developed a new imprint, Yen Audio, one that is really new. It's not even 2 years old right now. We announced this back in May of 2021 with our first set of audiobooks coming out in the summer of that year. So plain and simple, Yen Audio is an imprint dedicated to full audiobook adaptations of beloved Yenon books. And with a lot of Yenon being made up of light novels, our first few works were just that, were light novel audiobook adaptations of light novels. But with these light novels having previously been adapted into anime, what was really neat is that there were already voice actors who gave voice to these characters in animated form. And what we did is we hired a lot of these voice actors to narrate the full-length audiobooks, voice actors who are well beloved by the anime fan base, people who fill up panel rooms, people who have a large social media following. So we were pleasantly surprised by how popular Yen Audio has been in its short life so far. So that's the introduction to Yen Audio, and from there, I want to present to you all 4 works from Yen Audio, 2 that are examples of these light novels, and 2 that are more general works of fiction. So let's start off with Solo Leveling, which is one of our 2 most popular series under the Yen Audio imprint. So Solo Leveling is a Korean web novel, or originally was a Korean web novel, later turned into a full-length published web novel or novel, and then from there adapted into a web comic, which is one of the most popular in the world. We at Yen Press are responsible for the print publication of that comic, and it has taken off to become one of the best sellers, in the category. So, of course, because it seemed like nothing could go wrong with Solo Leveling, that surely was the case when we released the audiobook. Our audio book is narrated by actor Ki-hong Lee, who's very well known for being an actor in the Maze Runner series and The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. So to go into the story of Solo Leveling, this falls in the category of books that are stories that are inspired by role-playing games, which has become very popular in the manga and anime space. And Solo Leveling in particular has to do with a hunter in a world where hunters are the humans who have supernatural abilities, the superpowered, if you will. And what they do is they go through dungeons in order to get prizes, to get money, to get fame. Unfortunately for our protagonist, Jinwoo Sung, he is the weakest hunter in the world. And that is until one day where, he's in a dungeon, his party's wiped out, he's the lone survivor. But rather than dying, he finds out he's given a power, the power to transcend his level and to become, the strongest hunter in the whole world. So just to give you a taste of the audiobook, I am going to play a clip. So allow me to get to the mark right over here, and I'll let it play.
There! The others also brightened at the sight of the approaching hunter. Hello, everyone. It was Jinwoo Sung. Jinwoo nodded politely at Kim's cheerful greeting as he walked by. After making sure Jinwoo was out of earshot, Kim turned to Park with a cocky grin. Jinwoo Sung's here. That means it's safe. Park's eyes went wide, and he leaned in closer. Wait, is Jinwoo Sung that powerful a hunter? I guess you wouldn't know. He started not long after you retired. Everyone knows Jinwoo Sung. But if he's that strong, why is he working under the association? He'd be better off as some big guild or as a freelancer. Kim's grin faded, and he gave Park a wry look. Do you know what his nickname is? How would I know that? Stop beating around the bush and just tell me. The weakest hunter of all mankind. The weakest? Not the ultimate hunter? Come on! That's Chongin Che, the S-rank hunter. Sung's nickname is the weakest hunter. He's probably the worst hunter in all of Korea. What? Park frowned. Why had everyone welcomed Jinwoo so excitedly if he was that weak? They'd have to count on him to cover their backs in an emergency. Park couldn't understand the other hunters' reactions. Kim's.
All right, that's Solo Leveling. Like I said, one of our 2 most popular audiobook releases so far.
E-rank hunter.
All right, so our number 1 most popular audiobook is Overlord, the one you see over here. So Overlord was originally a Japanese light novel series, and like Solo Leveling, this is one that is largely inspired by role-playing video games. And Overlord tells the story of a guy who's obsessed with this video game this MMORPG. But unfortunately for him, his favorite game is going to come to an end. So, it's something that gave him so much meaning and happiness for so long. He decides to stay logged into the game to see it and firsthand. He wants to be there when the servers shut down. But as the clock goes down and it hits 0, what he finds is that it doesn't appear that the servers have shut down, but rather he's still in the world of the video game, of this virtual reality video game that he's played for so long. And he finds that he actually can't get out. It appears that he's stuck in the world of this video game, which for him is a great thing for 2 reasons. One, because this was his favorite thing to do, first of all, but second, because since he played the game so much, he is one of the most powerful beings there. And as such becomes an overlord in this world. The intrigue goes deeper as he does take power and faces conflict, but even more intriguing when he finds he may not be the only person stuck in this world. So this one's narrated by Christopher Guerrero, who is the voice actor for the main character in the anime. So a person who's very passionate for the work and who's also a very accomplished theater actor, probably one of the best audiobook narrators we've had. So allow me to show you via this clip.
A messenger from beyond has come to lure us away. But that didn't seem right. The night behind them had frozen as well. She heard an exhalation that could not even be called a scream, but whether it had been her trembling little sister, or the knight with a sword before them, she didn't know. Death's fingers, of which only the bones picked clean were left, stretched out slowly and then violently snatched at, not the girls, but the knight. She wanted to look away, but she was too scared. She had the feeling that if she looked away, the monster would transform into something even more horrible. Grasp heart. Death incarnate made a clenching motion, and metal clanged noisily next to the girl. She was scared to take her eyes off Death, but she lost to the tiny bit of curiosity still dwelling inside her and looked at the knight lying face down on the ground. He wasn't moving. He was dead. Yes, dead.
So that was Overlord. Overlord and Solo Leveling being our 2 most popular Yen audio series. So I am, unfortunately, I think I'm running out of time, so I don't have, I can't play the audio clips for the other 2, but I still would like to talk about them briefly. So like I said, the other half of our Yen On and thus Yen audio catalog is made up of general works of Japanese fiction, albeit award-winning works. And the first of those types of books that we released under the imprint was The Miracles of the Namiya General Store by Keigo Higashino, an author who's more well-known for works of mystery, but I think in recent years, Miracles of the Namiya General Store, which is a very heartwarming work of magical realism, has become one of his more popular works. This is a book that was adapted into a successful Japanese film, one that tells the story of this general store where the owner would take, he would give advice. People would leave him letters asking for help with the issues that they were dealing with in life. And then he would write letters back to give them his sagely advice. But that was long ago, and the Namiya General Store is no longer. Fast forward to the present day, where 3 delinquents find themselves in the general store, and in there they find that letters are still coming. And then one of them decides, hey, I think I'll write back, and somehow magically the responses that he gives go back to the recipient, where people from all throughout the years. It's not people in the modern day, but rather they're going back and forth all throughout time. So it becomes a heartwarming story of these different people becoming better through the advice they're given, while these 3 delinquents themselves are also finding themselves better. So like I said, a great heartwarming story, a very a well-celebrated work, one that we were happy to publish under Yen On, and one that we are honored to publish under Yen Audio. And the last
Shota was
last on the presentation is, even if this love disappears tonight, which, like the Miracles of the Namiya General Store, is a novel that has been well celebrated, not just in Japan, but all throughout Asia, and was recently adapted into a live action film. This tells the story of a boy who was dared to ask a girl to become, his girlfriend. And to his surprise, she says yes, under 3 conditions, that is. 1, don't talk to her until after school. 2, keep any communication between them concise. And 3, don't really fall in love. Unfortunately for him and the both of them, number 3 doesn't really pan out, because he does find that he falls in love. And when asking if they can be, if that's okay, she says that'll be difficult because I actually can't keep my memories. I forget everything that happens the next day. The only reason why they're even able to keep up this relationship is through a diary that she keeps. But the 2 of them try to make things work out, and it becomes this lovely, heartwarming story of innocent love between two teenagers, of course, until tragedy strikes. But even then, the story still remains beautiful. And this is actually one I was hoping to share, because the narration on this is absolutely wonderful. So very happy to see that such a great story was adapted into such a great audiobook. But it's available on March 14th. So I hope many of you try it out. And that's it for me. So thank you very much, everybody. That's the audio, and there's a lot more to come. So please look forward to that.
Thank you so much, Mark. We're looking forward to seeking out clips of all of those and listening to those that we weren't able to get to today. And thank you to all of our wonderful panelists, Michelle, Jolene, Jennifer, and Mark. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, the title list, the slide presentation, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those that you see here. Also, we want to tell you about Booklist Reader, our new book browsing guide, which offers reading recommendations to patrons of all ages. It's now available in print, so you can go to booklistonline.com to find out how you can order print copies for distribution to your library patrons in your library. If you already subscribe, Booklist subscribers can share issues digitally for free. Visit our website for more details and to see examples of how libraries are sharing Booklist Reader with their patrons. I've had the great fortune of subbing at a library desk and was able to share a Booklist Reader copy with a patron. She was thrilled with it, and it was really, really wonderful to see that this is a useful resource. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us today for the webinar. One more huge thank you to our panelists and to our sponsors, LA Theater Works, Dreamscape, Penguin Random House Library Marketing, and Yen Audio. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.